Is the Book of Mormon intended to be a history? The answer is that the Book of Mormon is a history. Now, I've seen a number of people, including members of the church, say that no, the Book of Mormon isn't intended as a history. It wasn't written as a history. We shouldn't read it as a history, and instead, we should read it more as an inspired fiction. And this is incorrect. The Book of Mormon is a history. And to show this, I'm going to put up some materials on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I've pulled up here is this is from the Book of Mormon. First, I'm going to focus on the title page. The title page of the Book of Mormon was written by Moroni, it was written by Mormon, and then eventually, when it was deposited by Moroni, as you'll see in the title page, talks about it's written by the hand of Mormon and then sealed by the hand of Moroni. So Moroni was involved there. Whether the title page is written by, must have been written by Moroni, at least in part, because it talks about being sealed by the hand of Moroni. But nevertheless, what the title page does is this is an introduction by Mormon or Moroni, who assembled this together, and it's a description and a statement of what the Book of Mormon is. And so you see right from the very beginning, from the title page, it's a statement of the title, the Book of Mormon, and then it states what it is. What is it? An account written by the hand of Mormon. An account means a history. So he says that the Book of Mormon, that's the title. What is it? An account, meaning it's a history. And then he specifically repeats, it's like more specifically, it's an abridgment of the record of the people of Nephi and also of the Lamanites. So again, what is he saying it is? It's an account, meaning a history. More specifically, it's an abridged or a condensed record, which means a history of these people. And then he also says that it's an abridgment also, or condensed version of the record, meaning a history of the people of Jared. So it's very clear that from the ancients, when putting this Book of Mormon together, it was intended as a history. And then also take a look at the introduction, which is what the church put together to describe the Book of Mormon. How does it describe it? Introductions, it describes it as a scripture. It is a record meaning a history, a record of ancient inhabitants, blah, blah, blah. And then it says, again, words written on golden plates, quoted and abridged by a prophet historian named Mormon. What does a historian do? History. So it's very clear that that's what the Book of Mormon is. It is intended and is a history. We go into the testimony of the three witnesses who saw the plates. What do they say? They say they saw the plates contain this record, which is a record of the people of Nephi, also of the Lamanites and their brethren, and also the people of Jared. So it's a record of a people. In other words, a history. And then again, the testimony of the prophet Joseph Smith, which is put there. Joseph Smith describes how he received the golden plates, how the Book of Mormon came about. He describes that it was, the angel came to him on the 21st of September, 1823. While he was praying, the angel comes to him. He describes the angel. The angel talks to him, introduces himself, that God has a work for him to do, and then he says, and there's a book deposited, written upon gold plates, giving an account of the former inhabitants of this continent and the source from which they sprang. So again, the angel, in delivering the golden, or in introducing that the gold plates would come, he describes it as an account, meaning a history. Now, maybe there'll be some of you that might think, oh, well, is a history the same thing as an account or a record? Are they really the same thing? Well, I click over to Merriam-Webster definition of history. It's a record, right? That's what a history is. A history is a record. It's also an account. So account, record, history, they're synonyms of each other. And so it's very clear that the Book of Mormon itself in the title page, in the introduction given by the church, when it was brought to Joseph Smith, that when the angel visited, it declares itself to be a record of a people or a history. Now, some will say that, but didn't President Nelson say that it's not a history? No, that's not what he said. It's a mischaracterization of what he said. So let's take a look at what President Nelson actually said. It's here. Okay, so this is from a 1999 talk, I believe, called "A Testimony of the Book of Mormon." We'll play a clip of it.
I would like to add my testimony of the divinity of this book. I've read it many times. I have also read much that has been written about it. Some authors have focused upon its stories, its people, or its vignettes of history. Others have been intrigued by its language structure or its records of weapons, geography, animal life, techniques of building, or systems of weights and measures. Interesting as these matters may be, study of the Book of Mormon is most rewarding when one focuses on its primary purpose, to testify of Jesus Christ. By comparison, all other issues are incidental.
Okay, so he's not saying that it's not a history. It's just saying that the primary purpose is not the history. The number one primary purpose is about Christ. I'm going to jump to, let's see, 254 is what I want to get to here. Okay.
When Mormon abridged these records, he noted that he could not write 100th part of their proceedings. Thus, historical aspects of the book assume secondary significance.
Okay, so again, the focus is he's not saying that it's not a history. In fact, he says it is a history. What he's saying is that the primary purpose was not to give an exhaustive, complete description of everything that occurred. In fact, Mormon had said that he couldn't give 100th part. So it wasn't focused on capturing everything of the secular history, of the things that aren't spiritual. It's a history, but with a religious purpose and focus, not the purpose to just be an exhaustive secular history. That's what he's saying. He never says that it's not a history. Let's take a look. There's another one. This was in, sometimes people misquote or cite to. This was in a 2016 talk to some mission presidents about the Book of Mormon, and this highlighted part, as some people will refer to, where he said, "There are some things the Book of Mormon is not. It is not a textbook of history, although some history is found within its pages. It is not a definitive work on ancient American agriculture or politics. It is not a record of all former inhabitants of the Western Hemisphere, but only of particular groups of people." So again, what he's saying is, he's not saying it's not a history. He specifically says it does contain history. He's saying it's not a textbook of history, meaning it's not designed to be a secular, exhaustive description of everything that occurred. Instead, it's a history, but for a purpose written by Moroni, and it's actually described right back in that title page. Let's go back to the title page. Hold on just a second. Okay, so going back to the title page. Yeah, so again, with the title page, it stated what it was. It was a history, and he kind of gives some description of what the history that's involved. And then at the end, he specifically states, Moroni states, the three purposes for the Book of Mormon. So he says all this history and blah, blah. And then he says the three purposes here, which is to show unto the remnant of the house of Israel what great things the Lord has done for their fathers, and that they may know the covenants of the Lord, that they are not cast off forever, and also to the convincing of the Jew and Gentile that Jesus is the Christ, the eternal God, manifesting himself unto all nations. So he states three purposes, one of which is to show God's dealing with the fathers. It's to show the history, but a religious history focusing on interactions with God and the people, why things happen there. And then the other, as what President Nelson describes as the more important purposes, is to help people know the covenants and also to convince people that Jesus is the Christ, the eternal God. And that is the number one most important purpose of the Book of Mormon. But it is very clear that one of the purposes as well is for it to be a history so that, as Moroni said, people will know what happened up to those people and of God's dealings with their fathers, specifically speaking to those who are descendants of the Lamanites. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop share there. Okay, so summing up, the Book of Mormon is a history. When people say, no, the Book of Mormon isn't intended as a history, we shouldn't read it as a history, I encourage you to stand up for the fact that the Book of Mormon is a history and to defend the historicity of the Book of Mormon. And that's what I'll try to do. I believe that the Book of Mormon is an actual history. I treat it as such. I understand that the number one purpose of it is about bringing people to Jesus Christ, but it is very clear that it was written as a history and intended as a history for that religious purpose, to help people understand God's covenants, his dealings with the people, and to them bring people to Jesus Christ. So that's how I see the Book of Mormon, and that's how we should help people to understand, including members of the church, that no, it's not correct to think of the Book of Mormon as an inspired fiction. It should be treated as an actual history because that's what it says it is, in multiple places and by multiple witnesses. All right, so let me know if you have any thoughts or comments on it. Again, if you like this content, be sure to subscribe, hit notifications for future videos, like the videos and comment, and that will help get the videos out to more people. All right, thanks a lot.